Now that we recorded the whole last hour and a half.
Whoa.
We're going to get started here. Just a reminder to people who are online, if you participate in the call, you should have the recording the meeting. And so if you participate, permission to be recorded. We actually 30-ish, in a couple minutes. Okay.
Yeah, we. Okay.
Yeah, 6:31.
That's that Samsung phone that you have there, isn't it?
29 from the Apple.
Yeah. 29.
We'll allow Karen to do roll call. How's that? And a pledge. And then officially start, I guess, around what we think is 6:30. But yeah, reminder that if you participate on the call, you're being recorded and giving your permission to be recorded if you do participate in this meeting.
That's all we're doing.
I've got to do one.
That's nice, you can have a good picture of mom.
I hear you folks, but I can't see anybody.
Yeah.
It's on purpose.
Looks like you didn't have a problem with the link, Jen, right?
Yeah, I don't see anybody, but I can hear you.
Oh,
The other side, right, you can see us.
I turned it on. It has on.
it could be, if you don't view participants, it's hard to see the other.
Now I see you.
Okay.
All right.
Now it's
roll call.
6:31. William Clevenger,
Present.
Bill Giffens,
Here.
Jenny here, Sally Ricciardi,
Here.
Rich West.
Present.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have approval of the January 26th work session and regular meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. First on the agenda, we have opening the bids for housing matching grant paving program. And it looks like we received 2 bids, one from E&B Paving and one from Town and Country Construction Incorporated. So I'm going to open the Town and Country Construction Incorporated one first. All right. It looks like this one's bid is for the sum of $256,596.75. Next is the E&B paving one. All right, if I'm not mistaken, this one is for $247,475.25. And what I think we should probably do is take these under advisement, have Bob look over these and make sure they're apples to apples and of what we asked for in the bid. Is that okay with you, Bob?
Perfect.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next, we need to open a public hearing for ordinance 2021-002, amending the stormwater utility rate.
Second.
Okay. Karen, do you have a sign-in sheet for Amber, Bob, and
I'll
council? Okay.
so I have to get them off.
Yeah, the recording as well. Okay. So the public hearing has been opened, and this is for ordinance 2021-002, which is an ordinance revising our stormwater utility rates and user fees to be collected by the town as originally set out in local ordinance 2009-008. So I'm going to read the section that has the change of the rate. Section 1, the Culver Town Council conducted a stormwater rate study with the assistance of a municipal utility rate consultant and determined that the ongoing maintenance and improvement costs necessary for upkeep of the town's stormwater will require an increase in stormwater fees. The results of the rate study suggest a phased-in rate increase from $2 per residential unit to $3.50 per unit, from $4 to $6.95 for non-residential and commercial units, and from $8 to $13.90 for condos, hotels, motels, and condotels. The town council has determined that the rate should be implemented over 3 phases, with phase 1 becoming effective with the first billing cycle after July 1, 2021. Phase 2 becoming effective with the first billing cycle after January 1, 2022, and phase 3 becoming effective with the first billing cycle after January 1, 2023. Section 2 reads, for residential real estate, the monthly stormwater utility fee shall be a flat residential customer charge of $2.50 per residential unit in phase 1, $3 in phase 2, and $3.50 in phase 3. Section 3, for non-residential commercial real estate, the monthly stormwater utility fee shall be a flat non-residential commercial customer charge of $5 in phase 1, $6 in phase 2, $6.95 in phase 3. Section 4, for condos, hotels, motels, and condotels, the monthly stormwater utility fee shall be a flat customer charge of $10 in phase 1, $12 in phase 2, and $13.90 in phase 3. Section 5, exemptions from the stormwater fee shall be any government entity, including public schools, and any federal, state, and local government real estate. So that's essentially the ordinance that we're looking at for today's public hearing. Is there any public input in the room currently? Okay, is anybody online a comment for public input or question or concern? Looks like someone may have put something in the chat room, Karen.
Yeah, I'm trying to, it's about the.
Oh, okay, that's good. Any comment from the public? If so, please unmute yourself. Okay, council, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we already did first read of this ordinance, and so this tonight would be second reading, and I'll suggest that we put third reading on next meeting's agenda so that there's still time in case somebody comes forward from the public. So do I have a motion to approve this ordinance on second reading?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Next on the agenda is Senate Bill 389, Indiana Wetlands. I think you guys probably saw some email possibly and email. There have been community expressing concern. Rich had approached Karen and I about this bill being a major concern to Culver because of Lake Maxinkuckee. And he wondered if the council would support speaking with Representative Jordan in the form of a formalized letter. This letter would basically say that we're disappointed to learn that Senate Bill 389 has passed the Senate, been forwarded to the House of Representatives. Rich points out in the letter that Lake Maxinkuckee is one of our treasures, and that is through the protection of the surrounding wetlands and other conservation practices that this lake has become part of our economic vitality in Culver. And on that, Rich also points out that Marshall County as a stellar community and county looks to promote recreational activities on the Yellow River, on this lake, and other lakes, and weakening the wetland protections would compromise all of those water sheds. So he urged in this letter Representative Jordan to not vote for this bill, and he would like for us as a council, if we are in agreement, to submit this letter from the Town Council of Culver. So I wanted to get the council's input, if that's how you all are looking at this bill. If you would like to discuss or support that, let me know. Rich has written this so that it would come from each one of us is listed on here, and we would submit it to him as of the date of today.
So moved, if you're looking for a motion.
I am.
I move that we accept Rich's letter.
I second that motion. I think our wetlands are
Extremely important.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I think we could all probably sign this when we do claims,
Okay.
and we could perhaps send a PDF to Representative Jordan. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is Seller Services 2021 Main Street Maintenance Proposal. And I'm assuming this is the annual contract we have for maintaining the streetscape on Main Street. Okay. Bob, do you want to summarize that? Is it?
It's pretty much just like last year. It's
roughly almost $100 more than last year. It takes care of the spring cleanup, mulch, refreshes the mulch, bed maintenance, watering, spring fertilizing, fall fertilizing. It's $3,609.65.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the proposal from Tony to continue with maintaining Main Street.
Question first, please.
Sure.
Bob, on the snow removal, how far down Main Street are they going?
That is a separate contract from this, but they go to our town parking lot and then they come over and back up.
Well, that's a separate contract?
This is spring through summer.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
this
thank you.
isn't the snow removal contract that
Okay.
we have, but this is separate.
All right,
I'd
And
make
it's
the
more
motion,
streetscape,
Yeah, this is flowers and maintaining
the
the pump
beds.
outs.
I'd make the motion to approve that proposal.
Okay. All right, seconded by Bill. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right. Next on the agenda, we have regional stellar park proposals. I know that Bob's been working on the message board project with Shannon and with the vendor. How's that going?
Got the Live Oak's gonna put electric from the sign, the school sign out to our sign. But I haven't got a firm date on when that's gonna go in. All I've heard is late February, early March.
Yeah, with the snow, it could be anyone's
Right.
guess, right?
That's optimistic, I think.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Also under regional stellar park proposal, stellar proposal is the park proposal. Amber, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, so all of you would have received, both proposals. So this is what I call the pre-grant work. We're using local funds basically for our match for the Stellar project to cover the preliminary park design from Troyer Group, and then the environmental review and grant application process with Shannon. I do have 2 hard copies up here. I know I sent it to all of you guys as well. Does anybody have any questions after? I know we had a lot of discussions, but I hope everything's clear. I know it was a little bit confusing about what can come from local funds, what can come from Okra, and like what requires procurement, but I hope everyone's on the same page at this point. Yes, Serge?
At some point, we are going to go through the federal procurement process to finalize.
Yes.
So this is a preliminary
Yeah.
Yeah,
contract on this.
Okra first makes you apply for the grant, even though you
Right.
want it in Stellar, you still go through a formal application process. And so Shannon has to do environmental releases as part of that. There's actually a ton of upfront work, and she's required to provide a preliminary design. So you basically are hiring the 2 companies to do preliminary work. They can't do anything else, and you can't even hire your construction folks until Okra says, yes, your application's approved, we're awarding you these grant orders. Even though you've already won Stellar, you still have to go through that formal application process. So it's as if we're applying for a grant that we know we're already gonna win.
And then after we get that formalized approval of it, we'll go through the procurement process
Yes.
for the grant administrator to do the environmental impact study, to do the design work
Yes.
and contract.
This upfront work will already include environmental.
Okay.
They do things in a kind of different kind of order, but Shannon will have to go through procurement, Troyer Group would have to go through procurement, and your construction company goes through a bid process. It's a little different than procurement, but federal dollars have to go through procurement. So yes, and I cannot vote on either of these because, one, Troyer Group, but also I'm a grant admin myself, so I prefer not to vote on that one with Shannon either. But basically, I think you're looking for approval for them to do the grant application, which involves preliminary design and Shannon's environmental release work.
Correct, yeah, and the goal is, I think the total right here comes, yeah, so this one's just shy of 9,000, and then you have Shannon's, which is about, 6,000. In total, our local funds will be 100,000. So basically, like, 80,000 of that will be local funds. When we get to the project phase, we can kind of have that flexibility, use that, $80,000 towards what we decide. Just gives us more flexibility down the road. So, we'll certainly go through that process once we've completed the grant application part.
And
So
the,
yeah, we'll need approval of both of the proposals, one from Troyer and one from Shannon.
and these initial proposals count toward our matching dollars.
Yes. Correct.
Want two separate, motions,
Yeah, I think we'll need 2 separate ones for each proposal.
one for Troy and one for
One
Shannon?
for, yes,
Got it.
correct.
The reason you can't use federal funds right now is you technically don't have them awarded to you yet.
Right, I just want to make sure that this- the
Mhm. Yeah,
$15,000
We
commitment
double checked
comes
with
out of
Shannon.
our
Yeah.
town match. So
Yeah,
it's not in
Shannon
addition
said
to that.
that it will count towards our local match.
Okay, good.
Amber, can you pass out or pass around what you have?
This, do you want to see the
Mhm.
proposals?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the
Here's a
one,
set to you guys.
the one on top is Troyer, and then the one beneath is Shannon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw them online.
Okay.
For the electronic version.
All right.
I'd make a motion to approve Shannon McLeod's proposal for the grant administrator for the next phase of the regional stellar in park project.
Second.
Okay. I recuse myself here, but all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we'll just need one for Troyer as well.
Right. I would move that we accept the proposal from the Troyer Group for the preliminary design work for the regional stellar project in the park.
Second.
Recuse. All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Amber, or?
No, I'll keep you guys posted as we keep moving forward, but I appreciate everyone's help on the project. So, yeah.
What's the timeline, do you think?
Yeah, I actually have that. I just get 1 second, I can pull it off.
Rough, I mean,
So the plan right now is to, this, off my memory, we'll finish, the preliminary design will take 2 to 3 months, and then we'll start the environmental review. The environmental review takes about 2 months, and then the grant application, we're hoping to finish all that. By the fall, we'll start the bidding process, and the goal is to break ground with construction starting in the spring of 2022. If everything goes according to
sure.
plan.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so
But
either
thank
the
you.
spring, if not the spring, then the fall, hopefully the summer season.
That's what I was wanting to
Once
hear.
they officially award funds, and, so once this application goes in and Oprah says you've been awarded,
Right.
you get 1 year from that award date. So even though there's all these months of work that they have to do ahead of the
Year to begin or 1 year to complete?
1 year to complete after that award date. And you can get extensions,
Sure.
depending on circumstances. But it's a year after the award date.
And our local match is $100,000 and the total grant
Yes.
is
$600,000.
600,000.
500 from OCA, 100 from us, roughly.
Total project.
So it's
Yeah.
500 in the grant, 100
Yes.
from us, okay.
Yeah, there's your 20%.
One other thing on regional stellar I wanted to let you guys know about. So one of Bremen's NDOT projects out of regional stellar, NDOT could not fund it. It didn't fit really their requirements. So Bremen decided to move Okra dollars from their Okra project to that one because it was a higher priority for them, which meant there was a little over $1,040,000 from NDOT that they're not going to use as a result. So the sort of way we set things up with the Crossroads team was if extra funds came in or a community wasn't going to use those funds, it would come back to the Crossroads team to determine which other communities had an interest in those NDOT funds. So a community rep from each community met, and Jonathan went for Culver, La Paz was there, Bourbon, Bremen, Culver, Plymouth, etc. Plymouth had no interest in doing another NDOT project. They already had one in Regional Stellar. So the other towns that want to do a project came forward with their projects. And one of Mike Reese's concerns about the NDOT projects is when we did the budgets on those, when we applied for Stellar, they were assuming a construction year of 2023 to 2024. NDOT's kind of moved those construction dates out, and as you know, that means costs go up. So the NDOT project for us, Trails, is going to be a later construction date than anticipated. Same thing with the other communities. So Mike is suggesting if NDOT allows it, to take part of that $1,040,000 that Bremen won't be using and take, a chunk of those funds to each of the other NDOT projects. We have one, Argus does, and Plymouth. And then there still would be money left out of that $1,040,000. And Bourbon and La Paz have asked to choose each of them to do a small project. So Mike at Troyer Group and the MACOG is in charge of all those NDOT applications. They're helping each of these communities do those applications. It's kind of their specialty. They're going to work out budgets. So it could be that once they've run all the numbers on these projects, they may come back to Culver and say, we can give your budget an additional X amount of money. And let's say it's $50,000. But we'd have to come up with match on that 50. So, and if Bourbon does a $300,000 project, for example, they'd have to come up with a 20% match because NDOT requires a match, whether it's Stellar or not. But the feeling was that since NDOT's moved the construction dates out, we may want to add to each of those budgets a little bit out of this $1 million extra grant dollars. But we'll keep you informed on how that turns out. They're working that out among all the communities, and MACOG is kind of leading the charge on that. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I have to explain it 3 more times, but I'm finally clear on it myself.
Ultimately, it would be NDOT's decision on whether they would allow it.
Yes, because our application was already complete, so they may say no. Argus and Plymouth did not have their applications in yet, so they can still change their budgets before they go in. But with us, it's a matter of whether NDOT would allow you to adjust the budget with those Stellar funds. So I'll keep you updated, but Stellar plan update. Anything else on the Stellar plan update for projects from anyone? I don't think we have anything new to report on that Stellar plan.
Did you skip special event permits?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
That's, so, yeah.
Yeah,
We have a separate line item because it's not in the department head.
yeah, go ahead, Amber.
So first thing was, we did get a special event permit for the Cupid Dart that has been canceled as part of Winterfest, just a heads up. The temperatures are predicted to be really low that morning, so they weren't comfortable moving forward with it. Other than that, we have a special event permit for the Culver Lions Club annual corn roast. A lot of these are Lions Club. The Culver Lions Club fundraiser for the White Cane event, which is July 30th. Sorry, I forgot to mention the corn roast July 24th, like it always is annually. And then another White Cane event, which would be June 5th. Does anybody have any questions about any of the special event permits? I'm assuming I can give them the January through.
Do I have a motion to approve the special events?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Amber. All in favor?
Aye.
Outside of just special event permits, I know at the last meeting, there was a lot of talk about the Culver Farmers Market and their special event submission. I know it was forwarded to all of you guys, their Culver Farmers Market rules, market rules for vendors. Sort of about the application process, their vendor eligibility, market operations, all that stuff, fees, liability. And then you are also provided a list of potential nonprofit and organization booths that might be in attendance or that have been in attendance pretty regularly. I didn't know if you guys wanted to go ahead and move forward in that discussion. I do think Tracy or Chad is on the call if you guys have any questions based on the documents that they provided us with.
Okay. I know we got one list from Chad and one from Tracy. They were pretty similar.
Yeah, there's some overlap, but yeah.
Yeah. Any questions or comments on the market's rules updated 2021 or the list?
When did you send those out?
I sent the list out this afternoon, and the rules went out when I set the agenda.
We also sent the that list to Jonathan before the last council meeting. He just didn't actually check his email before the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Chad. Do you guys need time to look at these, or have you had a chance to look at it? I saw the email this afternoon myself, fine with it.
Yeah, I read it earlier, both lists, and I mean, I'm fine with it. I think that the activity described in the application and the eligibility for vendors, and the list of potential and past vendors here, I think fits with, what is typical in farmers markets and communities like ours.
That's all.
I mean, I'd be comfortable moving ahead with it if, Bill, did you want more time to look at it, or?
Yeah, I just did. The only question I have is the one section here pertaining to the Community School Corporation and the Academy. It's the service projects that they're talking about. Right, okay. Yeah. Okay, good.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve farmers market for the 2021 calendar year
So moved.
in the park?
I just have a quick question, I guess. My question is, like, what if, I know these are like proposed vendors, like what if there's change in that? I mean, I know obviously there was some discussion about, the Black Lives Matter booth and it being political, and I know you guys are approving of these, but, if that changes, if this list changes, I know you guys have talked about approving vendors weekly, and it's my understanding it's just not feasible every week to look over a list and approve it every single week.
I mean, I think my understanding of the proposal is that they're combining their criteria for selecting and allowing vendors and these not-for-profit groups are the ones historically. If there are other, I mean, my expectation with the proposal is if there are other groups outside of these that apply for not-for-profit status for a vendor booth, that then they would bring it for a special permit here. If it's if it's a new farm vendor or produce vendor, I don't know that it necessarily needs to come here. But my understanding, and I guess the proposal or the motion that I'm making is that we approve the criteria that they've given us, along with this list as the not-for-profit groups that are approved. And if there are other not-for-profit groups that apply for a vendor booth at the farmer's market, that then they would bring that application here, but not necessarily another farmer's market vendor themselves, another farm or local gas person.
And I guess it depends on how you interpret under school-based programs. Service projects, that's your senior service projects, I assume. Psycho is the students between the two schools, and then you have educational efforts. So that could encompass a lot of things, and maybe we just don't have anything vague in there. And
Well, it's not the Black Lives Matter.
pardon?
But they're not gonna come.
Because I think Amber's question is that considered an event? You know, the organization came to us for a specific date, right?
Right.
Last year, and ended up coming into the farmer's market instead and doing the event date. So Amber, your question is, do I approve someone coming into market that may not necessarily, you know, I don't know the status of whether they're a nonprofit or not, but I think this says educational efforts, and I think that was the intention to bring them into farmers
It
market.
is, yeah, I mean, it was always promoted as an educational event.
Yeah,
Chad
if
or
I could
Tracy?
jump in, on that specific one, the Black Lives Matter, from the market perspective, was not a separate, it wasn't an event. It was an informational booth that was associated with the schools. They weren't actually doing an event at the market. They were promoting the event that had been approved by the council. So because it was related to a school and promoting an event that had already been approved by the council, it fell under what we would normally do.
Yeah, I can see how you would interpret it that way, Chad. I think the council and some of the staff maybe didn't interpret it that way, that we had approved a specific event for the organization, and rather than do the, the event on that specific day, they came into the farmer's market with an informational booth.
Right.
So I think some people were, well, didn't you approve a specific event? And we said it needed to be after July 4th. But then they came in through the farmer's market anyway. So that I had staff call me and say, I thought we were only supposed to allow this after July 4th. So, we had people interpret it two different ways. And I think Bill's interpretation is that it's a local group or social justice group. I don't know how you labeled it at the last meeting, so I'll speak either. So, I guess it depends on how you.
So I'd like to just say hello, everyone. So I'm Evan Duttmer. Great to see you all again. So I was actually one of the co-organizers for the event this summer. So I'm happy to answer questions, or if there's things that people are confused about, or just any thing that I can help to give. One thing I'll just say off the bat is so we were not affiliated with what's kind of called like the Black Lives Matter global network or anything. We were not affiliated with them. This is solely from the perspective of being interested in the social justice movement. We wanted to, have the event that we sought approval through the council for. And then we were, separately thinking about promoting that event, hoping to have good attendance for that event. on July 10th, which, went great. It was a very peaceful, constructive, educational event. We just, were invited to come to the farmers market, not as a kind of separate special event. It really was solely promotional for that upcoming July 10th event. The idea there was not to kind of somehow have our own special event that we were having at the farmers market. It was solely just to promote the July 10th event. And so we had that space, we had that booth set up for us. That was wonderful. But it was not to have it definitely wasn't the intention to make people feel that we were undercutting the system or something. And especially because the July 10th or the later date had already kind of been preliminarily approved. So anyway, I'm really happy to answer questions to see how I could help out. But I do think it's one thing that is important to say is that we weren't part of the Black Lives Matter kind of like global foundation or anything. It was teachers at the Culver academies, Culver community schools, students at both institutions that kind of came together to just organize something just for the town. So anyway, I'm here if anyone would like to ask a question.
Okay, thanks, Evan.
I've got a question, and maybe is Tracy on the call?
I am, Jim.
Your mission, statement seems to indicate that you're educating consumers about local farmers, seasonal eating, local crafts, so forth. But then when you come in with the potential for nonprofits, why are they included? Why are this being included in the farmers market? Wouldn't these be better off coming to the council as individual issues?
I'll also let Chad chime in, but I mean, one of the overarching purposes of the farmers market, in addition to what you just said in terms of helping to promote local farmers and crafters, it's also to build a sense of community that's pretty common with markets across the country, where it really does often serve as somewhat of a community hub. It's an opportunity to have nonprofits in that, frankly, they benefit from, because there's more traffic at a market than them just setting up an individual stand. And certainly we benefit from it because people come to maybe visit their, fundraising daughter or friend or whatever, and they'll also shop at the market. So it's not unusual. It's a fairly standard, in fact, encouraged and promoted type of thing. And I think if you look, Bill, at the list of the nonprofits that we've had over the years, it's a really, they're core community organizations in Culver that have benefited a lot from being at the farmers market. They're the ones who want to come. They're the ones who want to set up. And we certainly do encourage that for a whole host of reasons. And I know those of you who have come to the market have certainly partaken in, buying nuts from Frida or getting Kiwanis tickets there, because it's an easy, fast way to get a bunch of stuff done on a Saturday morning. So it's the kind of thing we encourage. And frankly, I think the thread and the core of the market would not be the same if we didn't open up our arms to our community organizations. I don't know, Chad, if you want to weigh in as well.
Yeah. So when you speak with market masters around the country, all of the successful markets, their primary aim is to be a community hub, a place for the community to come together. Markets that only try to just sell stuff, they either become a flea market or they just shrivel up and die. And if you look, it's not doing the nonprofits is not something new that Tracy and I added just last year. Speaking with Barb, it's been the case at the market in Culver for at least 25 years. And I think the value, you can see the value that it brings the community if you look at that list of vendors. And, a couple of years ago, the farmers market, the Lions Club awarded the farmers market the Community Service Award. That's largely because the service we provide is being that community hub that allows a forum for all those community organizations to meet the citizens of the community.
But all that flies in the face of your mission.
In what way?
They're making the case for part of that mission where they say build a spirit of community. That last phrase is what I think they're trying to define that as, maybe.
I mean, I don't have a problem with these other organizations if they were separate from the farmer's market. Because the farmer's market, in other words, your mission statement pretty much defines what you're doing as far as the farmer's market is concerned. I don't see anything in your mission statement that talks about outside events. And I'd rather see the outside events come before the council to be approved.
Yeah, so the market doesn't do events at all. If you look in the rules, all we do are booths. So all those nonprofits, they're not having events at the market. They're having informational booths or fundraising booths, things like that. So an event would absolutely have to go through the council and be approved by the council, because that's not within the purview of what the market does. But a group wanting to do a fundraiser, like the Lions Club selling nuts, the Union Church selling rugs. A few years ago, you had the two churches with the community garden that were selling food to provide funds to the food bank. All of those things are part of that community building part that makes the market a place for people to come. Without those, you'd really lose both the value the market provides the community and the viability of the market, because that builds the excitement, the buzz, the reason to come.
Yeah, I buy my Kiwanis tickets at the farmer's market because I know that they're coming. And otherwise, I have to look for a board member or, but I know they're going to be down there selling those tickets. So I tend to go down there and buy my tickets from them. And if I'm buying something at the market, I may end up buying something from a nonprofit just because I happen to be there. I don't have any issues with the list or the rules that you provided, Chad and Tracy. I did have a question that wasn't clear to me. Can a local business, a brick and mortar, have a booth if they want to have a booth? Like if Don wanted to sell hot chocolate at the farmer's market or tea or merchandise, can, Culver Coffee Company have a booth at the market?
Yes, it wouldn't be free like the nonprofits are, but we have, Culver Coffee has actually provided coffee and donuts for a time. And Flea Market Chic, Jennifer, has had a booth for many years.
Okay, that was my question. I just wanted to make sure it was still open for a brick and mortar that might want to have a booth.
But is this going to give the farmer's market just a blank check to bring in any organization that they want to bring in without having come to the council? I've got a problem with that.
Well, the rules spell out what we haven't changed anything in that policy. The rules spell out that it has to be a nonprofit organization from Marshall County or with a Culver address from one of the neighboring counties. And it's been that way for decades. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of issue you're seeing, what the market would possibly bring in. I mean, I think anything terribly controversial would find a 12 by 12 booth, the total, ability of their space and activity pretty limiting to cause any issues.
Okay, any other input or comments?
Chad, this is Rich West. Just a question. So is my understanding correct that outside the the guidelines that you've provided, and then also the list that you've provided, if there were additional or another not-for-profit organization that popped up that is not on this list, then that would be something that would come to the council for approval? And if it's not a regular farmer, another crafter or farmer?
That's not been the case in the past. You know, I don't know that it would be a problem to make that the case, other than, you know, a lot of times it's pretty short notice, you know, on those sort of one-time booths. But that wouldn't be a problem for us, it'd be a problem for them. But yeah, so I guess, you know, we can propose that, we can write that in.
Yeah, the only, and I would just kind of, this is Tracy, and sorry, Bill Clevenger, for calling you Jim. These Clevengers just confused the heck out of me. But I wanted to also say that, I mean, it is a timing issue. Sometimes I'll get a call the night before from like a youth group that wants to do a quick fundraiser, and I just hate to turn, you know, a Culver Community High School kid down who wants to sell tickets to whatever for a good cause. So, I mean, we're happy to kind of shoot you all an email, and if there's like a red flag that you have with any of them, then we can kind of talk about that. But I think kind of this process of every kind of assuming that we're going to have a list in time for a council meeting to deliberate and all the information necessary, I think has never been done before. We've never needed to. Our rules are pretty specific as to what falls into the category of a nonprofit, but also willing to work with you all in some way that's expedient for us to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the community organizations as well as whatever works for you.
And I think your list, Tracy and Chad, also, I mean, it says there are school-based programs or groups from either the Academy or the Culver Community School Corporation. So I mean, if, you know, if the PTO is coming in to sell tickets for their the raffle they just had, or the something like that, I mean, I think that falls within the list or guidelines that you provided.
I'm trying to think if there's something, I mean, because we do get, like, I know a couple years ago, we did have the, it was an animal rescue group that came because they had rescued the Penelope, the pelican that happened to find its way to Culver. And so they decided to set up a booth, but that was like real last minute notice. So I'm not sure that that would have been able to fall into the council's every 2-week deliberation.
Yeah, and you know, I think some of the churches have often been fairly short notice, and like when Jackie Walorski came for her campaign, I think I got a call on that about 8 o'clock the night before. But you know, if we want to have that kind of thing be something the council needs to approve, then we would just say, no, you can't come, try in a couple of weeks. Go ahead.
Okay, hi. This is, sorry to interrupt. This is Ksenia Tsifrik, Chad's wife. I just wanted to clarify that what the rules do spell out. So I read the rules in detail, and the part that is spelled out is that if these nonprofits are to promote an event, that event that they're promoting needs to have an event permit from the town council in advance. So we are not in a position to allow any nonprofits to promote an event that has not been approved by the town council. Currently, we do not have the rules spell out that if we have a new nonprofit that has to have a prior approval from town council to set up. That is not in the rules. Thank you for listening.
I guess is the real question don't let me put words in your mouth. I'm trying to get what you guys are getting at. Is the real question whether the school-based groups that have come in, like Amber said, with the group from the Academy that was promoting the Black Lives Matter event at an educational booth, is that a nonprofit? Or is that what we're getting at here? or because I don't look at school-based groups as nonprofits, that could be really any group. It could be the science club or, you know, and I'm assuming there's not a bunch of 501c3s on campus or at the Culver Community School. So I think the real question is, are we okay with service projects from seniors, the Psycho Club, and informational booths on whatever educational topic is coming into the farmer's market? It's not really about the nonprofits, right? Most of these nonprofits have been there for years, as Chad said. So I guess that's the real question. And I think the conflict was, we thought we were approving an event last year, and then the organization showed up as an educational booth at farmer's market, right? And people weren't expecting that because we thought they were just doing an event, not promotional material. And it, you know, caused some waves in the community, and I'm assuming that's what we're getting at, right? Am I talking about the big white elephant in the room?
Absolutely.
So I'm ready to move on. I'm okay with the list myself. I'm okay with educational, informational efforts, but I'm putting that out to council. Do I have a motion to approve this as is? Or do I need to make the motion?
I move,
You already did, didn't you?
yeah, I move that we approve the farmers market events with their rules and with their list of not-for-profits as examples of the groups that that are permitted to have vendor booths.
As written on the document. And Amber needs to know, obviously. Do I have a second to Rich's motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Sally seconded. Did you get all that, Karen? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right. That was it on special events, right? And permits from you, Amber.
Correct.
So then we already did regional stellar plan and stellar plan update. So we'll go to department head reports, EMS. Jeff, are you on the call? If so, go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see.
Hi, Jenny. Hi, council members. How are you all tonight? A couple of things. Our transition from ESO to Image Trend is coming to its final stages here. I'm wrapping up the final configuration and testing, and I've got to have a conference call with Acumed on Friday to do some final run-throughs with requirements for the billing there. I'm excited to get this rolled out. I have a hard rollout date of March the 1st for this. So I'm looking forward to that, basically just to put this beside us and moving ahead with a lot of other projects that are going on as well. Also, I'm in the final testing phases of an app that we're going to go to also as well. It's called I Am Responding. I started this back at the end of last year. Kind of goes on to a conversation that was brought up in a couple of months previously at a town council meeting about locations of roads within the lake area. And so this will help the staff with navigation and with additional messaging as we so need it. So one more tool that we have to navigate in the area with the diverse workforce that we have that are not necessarily all from around here. So it will help and aid them as well with this, and also has a lot of other features as well. I hope to bring you at the next council meeting recommendation for the fourth full-time medic. So look for that on the next agenda. Also hired another part-time medic and have another EMT and another medic interested in part-time work as well. So looking at that. Also, in the process of with Image Trend, I've also been working with Acumed to restructure. Not only was the fees, but another area was billing and how things were billed. and to encumber more cost for our services and to make sure that we're billing out the proper calls for the proper services. So I think I have a good relationship with Acumed, and I think we've got this pretty much well taken care of moving forward into 2021. So I look for a better revenue year. I hate to say that in a way for what we do, but it all is part of the service as well. Other than that, I only have one thing that I was going to bring up in front of the council tonight, was just to approve me spending to get 2 new portable radios there. It's was in my budget there. I just want to be able to use the budget to do that. It'll be over the $2,000 limit amount. And so they're about $2,800 a piece there. I don't have the final quote, but that's going to be close to what they were before with all the different accessories. But I'd like to have the approval to move forward with that to stay within my budget there as well. Other than that, that's all I have, unless anyone has anything for me.
Okay. Do you have a motion to approve the purchase of those?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff, just wanted to note, according to Karen's Board of Finance report, whenever the work session, we were pleased and thrilled to see the billings are up for the EMS department. So thanks for the work you've been doing with Acumen to get all of that on track and increase those billings.
Thank you. I know how much important it is for the proper billing, and I'm working tirelessly to make sure that we are billing out for the proper services and the proper calls. And that was a one thing that I did find in my first couple of months is the need for that. And so I really appreciate your comments on that as well. Thank you, Jenny and council.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know if there was.
Kevin Berger, we noticed your hand was up. Did you have a comment?
I didn't have a comment, but when you were talking about Stellar, I wanted to give something on the paddocks.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
It sometimes gets left out, but we're still out there moving the project forward. We have over 16 residents at this time. The visitor center had stepped up and done 12 baskets for us to give away as welcome baskets with information about the town. We've now used all those up. I think it's a great thing. There's a lot of information going out to new residents, and we're moving forward. We now have 4 certificate occupancies on buildings. 3 of them are actually open and are being filled with residents. So everything's positive at this point.
Great. Thanks, Kevin.
Kevin, Bill Githens, what's the occupancy at Sand Hill?
I don't know the exact number, but somewhere around 20.
Okay, and what did you say paddocks was?
16 plus.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kevin.
The way the visitor center set it up, those baskets, except for 2 of them that we did to the first residents to move in, who were actually local transplants, the other 10 have gone to new residents to Culver. So there's at least 10 that have moved in from out of town at this point. There's been a few with children, which is good for the schools. Culver Pediatrics stepped up and gave some specific certificates for kids. I still have about 3 of those left, so not all the 10 were new, but there's kids moving in out there too.
Good.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the fire department. I think we saw Terry earlier. Terry, if you're on the line, go ahead and unmute.
I'm here. I've got a few things that I need to bring up. Karen, for one, I know we were talking about the cadet program with the insurance company. I haven't seen anything back from them lately, and I'd like to push them a little harder because we're trying to get these kids in a class the 24th of the month. So maybe if we could make another phone call or something. I talked to Scotty personally too, and he said he'd have something. Well, I haven't seen it.
Okay. I will, get with you tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Also, Jeff has sent a letter to us to get the fire department a memorandum to be a BLS non-transfer. I just got it tonight. I didn't know if Jeff, did you send that to Jim Clevenger also?
No, I just sent it to you there, Terry. I can forward a copy on to Jim as well.
Well, I just like everything to go through him to make sure the words are correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it over to Jim.
Okay, I'm back with you. I'm good with it, so.
No problem. I'll send a copy to him and we'll just go from there.
All right, thank you very much. Also, just to let you guys know, we're trying to put paperwork out to for a radio grant again. We were in one a couple of years ago and it fell through, but we're working on it again through the county. Haven't really, I think we're just in the pushing the button stages now to get all the information in. And also, FYI, I was contacted by a lawyer from Fort Wayne about the Lakeshore Drive property that burned 2 years ago. I didn't know what to do with it really, so I turned all over to Jim, and I'm going to let him handle 100% of it.
That's probably a good idea.
That as a follow-up, this is Clevenger. The attorney that was looking for the information represents Erie Insurance. Our friend Mr. Van Hawk has filed a claim for a lost vehicle. I think it was one of the vehicles that was sitting alongside the building that was burned and totally destroyed and probably picked up and disposed of by Zahner Excavating when they were cleaning up the property. So it's not an attorney for Van Hawk. It's actually an attorney that's trying to defend or evaluate the claim of Mr. Van Hawk for this vehicle. And I furnished them a copy of the police report, Terry. I think that's the only thing that we had. They have a copy of the state fire marshal report, so I think they're all set.
Great, that's great.
Oh, boy. Anything else, Terry?
The only other thing that I had brought to last year, you approved getting some lines painted at the fire station, and they finally got it done this year. And the bill came through, and I believe it's a little bit less than what the bid was. I'm sure that'll come up at the end of the meeting. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Police Department, Wayne, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Go for it.
I currently don't have much. We're training the 2 people we hired. It's obviously a little slow this winter, so it makes it somewhat difficult. But we are working on possible alternatives because such a lag with the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy and the system, all because of all the COVID stuff the past year. So it's really put a strain on a lot of that. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have, I think, right now.
Okay, thanks, Wayne. We're back to the Park Department.
So the first thing I wanted to bring up, and we talked about the last council meeting, I think we need to start getting in place a system for the capacity for this building, specifically the conference room. I have my first rental coming up for March 6th. I have them obviously asked me what the numbers can look like. I gave you guys all this little sheet. It kind of lists out suggested and required capacity based on where your county's at, on a scale of 0 to 3. And then we have the red, orange, yellow, and the blue zone. As of right now, and what we had set when we were in the red zone was 8 people we'd be in here for classes, and then we had about 15 people in here for rentals and meetings. However, since we've moved into the orange zone, we haven't set a new number. I know with COVID, we've been taking a more conservative approach to it so that we're limiting COVID as much as possible in the county, which is great. And I would like to keep it that way. However, I do think it's time to start thinking now that we're in the next zone, which is the orange zone. We're at a 2 right now, which is the lowest on the orange zone. I put together some suggestions, and I can share those with you. So I said that for a score of 2 to 2.5, which puts us in the orange zone. 15 people for classes instead of 8. And then for rentals and meetings, 30 people. And then when we're in the yellow zone, which is a score of 1 to 1.5, 20 people for classes and 50 people for rentals and meetings. And then a score of 1 and less puts us in the blue zone, 25 people for classes, and then 70 people for rentals and meetings. And to put all of this into perspective, the capacity of this room and including the enclosure is 90.
Okay. The only one I think I would change, Amber, is the one on the orange, that's rentals and meetings from 30 to 25.
Okay.
It's because it's 8 outside that 25, so we can line 8. The other one is seem good to me. You guys okay with those guidelines?
Okay, yeah, I think that will be helpful for people who are looking at rental, just to provide them with that. Right now, I'm just like, I don't know, so I think that's helpful. Also, one thing I did want to note is we were not for next meeting mostly, but just to give you a heads up. As you are aware, we put a lot of money into this room. I think it's time for us to kind of review our rental rates. And I will send you guys the document and my suggestions based on everything that we've done. Obviously, keeping it as affordable as possible still. But I think it might be time that our rates improve a little bit. However, I would like to point out that Jerry White with Culver did suggest that we consider making a discount rate for room rentals for people who are low to moderate income. They suggested something like 25% off the regular rate if the rent is from Marshall County. And you have to provide documentation to justify the discount. So I have to reach out to Jerry and see whether this is recommended or just like a requirement. But I think it is a great thing just in general, whether that's recommended or required. So I'll work on that as well. And I'll get you guys over before the next council meeting.
Culver has a nice list of people who are automatically considered LMI or low to moderate income. So you can print that off their website. It's just, these are automatic.
And that's how people, okay. Yeah, because we were like, how do you?
Yeah,
What
so
documentation?
certain ones are automatically approved, and then they may want to know if someone is on social programs that probably qualify as well.
Okay.
Or free and reduced lunch, might qualify them, but.
Yeah, I think that would be really good thing to implement. Then you said you're going to comment on there. Great. And then the last thing I have is, as you're probably aware, our ceramic classes were an absolute hit. I think I filled every class in a matter of an hour and a half. I just shut down the ceramic weekend. I would like to ask for us to do another session of classes for March 13th and 14th, following a very similar format. However, this time I'd like to reserve one of those classes to be promoted in the newspaper. Not everyone I know is very active on email or social media, so just to give people another chance to sign up for the class and a lot of people reach out once we fill up they're really interested. They're asking for a wait list, so I was hoping we could do another session.
Use.
Yes, that's correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. On the rentals, would you all like to go ahead and approve
Yes,
what
sir.
Amber gave us for those as well? With 15 people during classes, 25 for gatherings or rentals. Yellow zone was 20 people in class, 50 for rental gathering. Blue zone will be 25 people in class, 7 people for rental or gathering, and obviously we have to.
Yeah.
So do you want to officially approve that with a vote? Because that really is a COVID policy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That is all.
Great, thank you, Amber. Utilities,
We have a couple of items for you. Our water towers, both of them, have a wireless transmitter that transmits information on the level of water that's in each tank to the water plant. There's a receiver at the water plant. One of those currently has failed. We're running off one tank instead of both. Those were put in new in 2016, and they're obsolete. Can't fix them anymore, can't get replacements. But one of them failed. But they were quote from Peerless, it does all the stuff, $2,859 to replace the 2 transmitters and 1 receiver.
Looking for a motion? I'm so moved.
all in favor?
Aye.
Well, the item of business is the new house is being built on State Street. I think Eric Larson building now. Meet the new water line ran to it. And the closest water line to it is in Culver Court, which is the brick street to the west. And instead of open cut and all that, through that alley, I got a estimate for location from stone, estimating $4,536 to do it. Trenchless. For it, for the estimate.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Tom. Boards and commissions, is anyone from the Plan Commission or BZA reporting? I won't take a report from redevelopment